Alhamdulillah. Gonna get started. Inshallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa salama tasliman. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa. Wa salamu ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. Amma ba'd. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected shaitan. May Allah bless our master, Sayyidina Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, companions, and give them peace. All praise is due to Allah, for he is sufficient for us. Peace be upon his slaves, whom he has chosen. As to what follows, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to everyone that is joining us here on Facebook and on our pages, the Nur Zaman Half Your Deen Show page and our YouTube channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please share this podcast. Please share. Tag someone who you think would benefit. Please get the word out. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Isa, thank you for joining us. Alhamdulillah. The Imam will be joining us shortly. Inshallah. And as always, I'll always give a little introduction, some current events and such before we start. I hope that, since last week when we were together, that Allah blessed you and that you see the blessings in your life. And even if you have been tested, that is a blessing. And I hope you said Alhamdulillah for it. And you thank Allah because, that's a blessing to be tested. There's a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is translated that Allah tests whom he loves. So not every test is something to put you through the ringer for nothing. It's that he want to show you what you're made of. He already know what we're made of. But he want to show you, and he wanted to reveal to you what your potential is. Because Allah never lies. You know that Allah says in his book in Surah Baqarah that he does not burden us beyond our scope. So he's not going to put on something on us that we cannot handle. Our minds cannot handle the truth and the reality of things. Like we can't handle the reality of Allah. We don't know Allah's a reality. So what do? You affirm it. Allah exists, right? You affirm that. And so you just leave it at that. Don't try to explain. Don't say it's likened to anything, that Allah is a likened to anything. No, you just affirm that. And you clear Allah, from any resemblance to his creation. MashaAllah. So Akida, right? Akida is connected to everything. That's our problem. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh, Hassan Ali. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh, Nabila. Thank you for joining us. We have a problem. Our problem is us. We shortchange ourselves in this deen. We think it just goes towards certain things. Like we only supposed to pay attention to certain aspects of the deen when the deen has, a place in everything in our lives, right? And if you know about it and you learn about those aspects and what you're supposed to do, you'll see your life come in full circle, right? But if you only learning a part here and a part here, it's like you have a Mr. Potato Head Deen. You take a little bit, and it'd be a little from here from Islam, and then a little from here from the Nation of Islam. And then you have a little from here from whatever, from the Buddha people, and you have a little bit from here. You trying to put all that together, make your life work. It's not going to work. I promise you, it's not going to work. And I hate to hurt your feelings. It's not going to work because Islam encompasses everything. It has everything that you need. That is the medicine. but refuse to take the medicine because it's bitter. It's only bitter when you refuse it. It's only bitter when you do not acknowledge that you are sick, right? So tonight, alhamdulillah, it's going to be an interesting conversation. The title is What Type of Spouse Are You? So this is not just for married people. This is about people that's coming into a marriage or someone that was already married and they divorced. What type of spouse are you? Because some of us, we don't think our stuff stink. We think we bringing something to the table. We actually pull the tablecloth off and messing up everything. So if we want to be honest with ourselves and we want better for ourselves and better for our mates, you pay attention to your actions because it's all in the actions. Wa alaikum salam to the brother Khalifa, alhamdulillah, to you and your wife in case she's listening. And again, the imam will be joining us shortly. He has his class every day. If you look at the Nur Zaman Institute page, we have a list of the classes that he is teaching. I would suggest, refer to you to join those classes, inshallah, because they're very beneficial. Not just because it's the imam and the imam happened to be my husband, but it's beneficial. Wa alaikum salam to the Sister Zainab, alhamdulillah. It's beneficial, especially if you're trying to find yourself, meaning you've been practicing the deen for so long and it's like it's not doing anything for you. It just don't do nothing for you. You pray, you don't feel nothing. You don't feel any connection to Allah. There's something missing because something's missing there. Something that you're not getting, that you didn't learn, and you don't know how to practice it. And it's like making a dish, right? Like spaghetti. And, in spaghetti, you got the tomato paste, right? Not the stuff out the can, right? Tomato paste, right? Or even the tomatoes themselves. You stew them and you have to add seasoning. Some of y'all spaghetti sauce is bland. You know how tomato paste tastes out of the can? That's nasty, right? Wa alaikum salam to the Sister Anisa and Brother Abdul Rakib. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, some of our spaghetti sauce is bland. It's like, it tastes like bitter, You gotta add some seasoning to it, some garlic, right? Some salt, some oregano. Our Islam is just like that. It's just bland. And we get bored. That's another thing. Wa alaikum salam to Brother Farouk. We get bored in this deen. We gotta be honest. Some of us get bored. We so bored that we don't want to learn. But we're quick to jump on somebody else's bandwagon because it looks good from the outside. Oh, they look like they got it going on over there. And then when you get over there, you find out, oh, that's not what I signed up for. Nah, it takes work. You got to build. You got to build yourself. So, inshallah, yep, you got to season it, right? Right? Yes, we have to season our deen. We got to make it palatable. And you don't have to compromise the taste either. You don't have to compromise this deen. You put fiqh in there, you put Islam in there, right? You put the Islam, you put the Ihsan, you put the Iman in there. That's all you need. That's all you need, according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You put that in there, you good. You straight. No need to add. No need to take away either. But people have lied to us and telling us that we have to take away that spiritual part. Some of us, we think it's all just the actions, the outward actions. Islam is more than that. Islam has an outer branch and an inner branch. It got the foundation, and then it got the outer branch and the inner branch. Right? But some of us think we just need to have the spiritual part of it. That's it. I don't need to know how to worship Allah. I just want to be spiritual. I just want to be a good person and just do good things and just get along with everybody. You're supposed to do that anyway. As a Muslim, you're supposed to be kind to your neighbors. Islam teaches us that. So we be like reinventing the wheel with stuff that we don't have to add to it. It has it in there. It's in there. If y'all from New York, I remember that the spaghetti sauce commercial. It's in there. That old lady used to say that. Islam got it all in there. But you have to be able to be taught. You got to come with an empty glass. You got to be like an empty glass to get filled. If you're not coming there to be filled, then you're never going to take anything. It's going to run over. You know how you got a glass and you try to pour something in there and it just run over? Whatever's in there is still in there. You're not even trying to clean that out. It probably got all types of filth. You don't care. I've been doing this for years. Who are you to tell me I've been doing this thing wrong all this time? Only an arrogant person will have that response. An arrogant person will have that response. But someone that is sincere to this deen and sincere to Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sincere to the Muslims, they're like, wait a minute. I think somewhere down the way, I veered off. Like you be on the road, right? You driving, take your hand off the steering wheel. What happens? Your car either veer to the right or it'll veer to the left, right? So you keep your hand on the steering wheel to keep it straight, right? That's what we got to do in this deen. Sometimes we veer off, and Allah knows that. Allah is most merciful. Alhamdulillah for that. Wa alaikum salam to barakatuh, Brother Khalil. Thank you for joining us. So we have to keep our hands on the steering wheel, whether it's one hand, like I like to drive with one hand. I can't drive with one hand. That's that nerdy. That's that you first getting your license type of driving, right? You got to drive with one hand, right? Like this, right? That's what experienced drivers, but you got to keep your hand on the wheel. So in your deen, you got to keep a hand. You got to be hands on. You don't just learn something and that's it. It's always something to learn, always something to build upon. It's always something. If you don't have that mentality, I remember I heard a sister say, I don't care about history. You know, that's the most ignoramus thing to say. You don't care about history? SubhanAllah. So it's like you have people like this. They don't care about their history. They don't care about learning. They have no they're not inspired. They don't have the drive. They're not attracted to knowledge. I'm not saying you have to be a nerd and all that stuff, but you need to know how to learn. You need to be a student. You should always be in the student's type of mind. And it's always something to learn. It helps you to develop, mashallah. So like I said, I do my little introduction for today, and we're waiting on the imam. He had his classes. I'll invite you all to come to the classes. We have the imams, Black Imams Roundtable. I invite you to that. I invite you to invite other people to join in, because this is for us. We're trying to establish an institution for us. Okay? And by doing that, that does something to you. You can say it just does something to you spiritually. It's like you feel good. Like I told people, I've heard people say, well, I'm going to go move here because they have this here, that here. They got this established and that established. They got a school. They got a master. They got this. They got a community, blah, 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 right? And I hear people doing that because they complain about where they are. And I said, well, I wouldn't want to do that. You're like an outsider. You'll be considered an outsider. Yes, you're coming in and join or the blessings of those believers building their community. That's all good. I'm not knocking you, but why don't you be part of the builders, being a builder? You didn't build that. So you're going to feel a sense of disconnect because you had no say, no input into them building that institution. Yes, you benefit from it. Alhamdulillah. But you didn't build it. Me, I want to be part of the building. So years down the line, centuries down the line, that our aunts, my aunts, descendants will say, my great grandmother Samira helped build such and such and so. And she was Black and she was Muslim. And that didn't stop her from doing that. Then don't you want to be spoken about like that? And it's not about being showing off, but don't you have those aspirations? We gotta think like that. We worry about now. Wow. Salam to the well, well, it's to Habibi.
Nah, we ain't got no aspirations. We ain't trying to do nothing. We just trying to stay right here, right where we at. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always talking about, aspirations, wanting to be something. I don't want to be nothing, man. I want to be where I am. I am where I be.
Alhamdulillah, please tell me if you can hear me clearly, because I know we be having some janky internet, but please don't let us talk and y'all can't hear us and we freezing with our mouths over. You can't see my mouth, but we looking stupid like, froze, and y'all sitting here like, okay, I don't hear anything. You got to let her, let us know.
I got her, Khalil. I got her. I'm about to get her. She about to eat this cake.
Will you have some words to say before we start?
Eat the cake. That's my words. No, I don't have any words.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, well, since you're here, we can start our topic for this evening. Again, our topic for this evening is, what type of spouse are you? Well, I do need you to say a few words before we go into this, Habibi, to introduce the source and give a little background to the source that we're deriving our show off of, just to inform the audience, because we got to get our weight up. We got to get our weight up as far as like when somebody gives you something. You want to be able to go back and research and do more research. You know how you be in school or something, or be a part of something, and they're like, okay, there's some additional resources that you can follow up. Most of us, we don't even care about the additional resources. Just let me get through this, class and just get over it. This is additional resources. So we want to be beneficial, not just talking, but, we want to be informative so that it can benefit you in some way, inshallah. That's our intention, inshallah.
Okay, so what you want from me?
I just told you.
Say it again.
Oh, you wasn't listening.
No. You were supposed to be eating the cake. You over there running your mouth. I ain't hearing nothing you say until you eat that cake.
I said to give an introduction or background on the source of which we getting our topic, deriving our topic from, inshallah.
You mean where you got the topic from? You chose this topic.
We're a team. Listen, you breaking code.
I can break code. Alhamdulillah. The topic today is based on a book, a small chapter of a book written by Sheikh Uthman ibn Muhammad, known as Dan Fodio. May Allah envelop him in his mercy. Ameen. He died in the year 1817, of this calendar, right? Now, he wrote a book called Bayan Wujubu Hijra al-Ibad, the obligation of making hijra upon the servants. And so the book, it really talks about how a government or a community, is not only how it's supposed to be run, is, really how it's developed and how it's built and how it's sustained. Right? And so, and the beautiful thing about the author in general and the book in particular is like you can use it as one of the blueprints to build a community. Because it don't just start, the first chapter on the rules and responsibilities of a Khalifa. Don't even start there. Don't even talk about making hijrah, first and foremost. It talks about the obligation of loving your brother after the introduction of the text. And, you know, and it builds like that. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. I heard you mention earlier, like this hodgepodge. You know, you stole my Mr. Potato Head reference. Well, I know I heard that. You know, right? I was watching you on YouTube. I heard you, right? So, where you know, and maybe a lot of people that's watching this is too young. You know, Mr. Potato Head, it was like a toy potato. And you could take the different nose, eyes, lips, and everything off, or you could like make them look the way you want. And you know, Aldine looks like that. You know, many scholars say that if one of the Sahaba was to come now and look at the Muslims, they'd be like, okay, point us to the Muslim. Where the Muslim at? Because it don't look like Islam, right? And so you have to kind of like build up, start from the basics and build up, right? I lost the track of what I was going to say. But in any case, and don't be laughing. You still ain't eat that cake. That's why I lost my train of thought, right? When he talks about all of the things with regards to government, you know, and you know, when things get bad, what you should look at and how you should deal with it. And he has a chapter in there called On the Quality That Makes It Easy for the Amirul Mu'mineen, the commander of the faithful, and others to be friendly with all people, right? This is deep. And one of the things, if you know about the books written by the Shehu, you know he never wrote a book of tafsir, at least none of that we know of. But he taught tafsir to his brother, his younger brother, the science of tafsir to his younger brother, Abdullahi Denfodio. And he wrote at least 2, maybe 3 books of tafsir. I have one of them. It's Dia Ta'wil fi Mana at-Tanzil. This is a book of tafsir written by the author, Uthman Denfodio's younger brother, Abdullahi Denfodio. So I'm saying all that to say that the Sheikh Uthman Denfodio, he knew the science of tafsir and he taught the science of tafsir. One thing I find that about looking through his books and studying his books is that all of his books are tafsir. That's one of the secrets of the book. Many times, if you're not careful, if you're reading some of his books, he'll write a certain point, and you're not paying attention that his speech then is completed with an ayat of Quran. You're like, oh, this is from the Quran right here, right? And so you can kind of like look at what we're talking about is like a lesson in tafsir, and this is tafsir, like grassroots tafsir where, how they say, where the rubber meets the road, right? Because this is something we all can apply. And as you heard me mention, it's the title of the chapter, right? But you can, as you're going to see today, we're applying this subject matter and the tafsir to marriage, right? So he says, I'm just going to read the English. I say in successors from Allah, be it known that the quality which makes it easy for the commander of the faithful and others to be friendly with all people is drawn from the Holy Quran. Allah says, no creature is there crawling on the earth, no bird flying with its wings, but they are nations like unto yourselves. This is Surah Ma'idah, verse number, not Ma'idah, An'am, chapter number 6, verse number 38. So you should look at that verse, right? He says, Allah has confirmed similarity between us and all other creatures. It is obvious that they do not look like us in shape, form, and intelligence, but the similarity is in behavior. Thus, every human being has in himself some aspect of animal behavior. So when you find someone departing from normal human behavior, see which animal resembles him in this and class him with it. meaning you classify that person in the same category as that animal, and treat him as you would treat that animal. Thus, you will have no trouble with him, nor will he have any from you. And so I'm going to stop right there, right? So look at this real relevant tafsir. Surah 6, verse number 38. I'll read the verse again. There is no creature is there crawling on the earth, nor bird with its wings, but they are nations like unto yourselves. They are nations like unto yourselves. Illa umamun amthalukum, like yourselves, right? So again, I'm rereading what I already read. Allah has confirmed the similarity between us and other creatures. Then he said, obviously we don't look like them. And obviously not intelligence, because animals, they don't have aql, they don't have intelligence. So he's saying that the similarity between us and animals is in behavior. And so basically, he's saying that all human beings, we have some aspect of animal behavior within us. And it's our intelligence, it's our aql that separates us from animals. And so when you see someone leaving normal behavior, in other words, they drop their intellect, right? And they acting subhuman, they acting like an animal, right? Don't just say that person's acting like an animal. Examine him and find out what animal is he acting like. And once you recognize what animal that he or she is acting like, if you don't want no problems with them, treat them the same way you would treat that animal. Okay, alhamdulillah. Can't hear you.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So we're going to get into these aspects of these characteristics that the Imam alluded to. And we're not going to be exhaustive in this, but I do want us to be reflective and see if this is, does it pertain to you? So no finger pointing now, but does it pertain to you? Okay. So the Sheikh, he said, when you see a man barbarous in his behavior, rough in nature, and tough in body, the type of man against those terrorization one is not secure, like they're like a bully, class him with the family of leopards. When you see a leopard, you keep clear of it, and you do not look for any trouble with it. So you treat such a man in that manner, okay? You keep away from them. So just thinking about in a marriage, or even before you get into marriage, you can tell people's temperament. If he's rough, bully, condescending, why would you marry someone like that? Right? And if you're a person that possess that characteristic, why would you put your wife through that? You know you rough, your tongue is like off the chain, and I can switch this to the woman. You know you rough around the edges, just rough. You ain't got no filter. Why would you put someone through that? Now, not everybody is as sensitive and can handle. Everybody's different, so I'm not saying they wouldn't be a match made, as they say in heaven, right? But just examine that. You steer clear. A lot of us is confrontational. You see how a person is, you're like, well, this is like a game to you. Let me see if I can overpower them. Let me see if I can make them submit. If you're a man has that idea that you're going to make a woman submit to you, like you're just going to overpower her, and you're not even caring about her deen, where she at, what level she's on, Why go through that? Why would you do that? You got to check your intentions. What you have to say to add to that, brother Imam?
A few things. Like the more I think about it, the more things are coming to my mind. I'm gonna mention them in no particular order. One of the reasons why, because you asked a rhetorical question, why would a woman put themselves like that? A lot of times, a lot of women confuse barbaric behavior with strength, feeling safe. So they say, okay, he's thorough. He's a beast. He's going to keep me safe. Yeah, what type of beast? Right? He's a leopard, right? Right? A lot, and a lot of so that's one reason. And a lot of times, I realize, especially for us, because we live in this abnormal environment, that we have to, even though we all don't have the training, we don't all have the training. We really have to become like, psychologists. We got to start reading people better, because we live in a weird environment. Most of us have, are survivors of multiple different types of trauma that have gone unhealed. And so when you talking about marrying somebody, it's almost like, okay, not has this person gone through something traumatic in their life? What type of trauma did this person go through early on in life? And, when that illness, when that sickness, no longer lies dormant, when there's an outbreak, can I deal with it? When most of us get married, we are not thinking on that level. We only think on that level after we're in the marriage already and there's an outbreak. Then we're like, oh man, I don't know if I could deal with this. But the signs were there. And so we have to learn to study behavior. When we ask all the wrong questions. The questions that we want to ask is not even questions that you can put down on paper. You have to observe these things. That's all I'll mention for now. I'm done.
So the second characteristic that I wanted to cover, the Sheikh says, when you find a man with the tendency to steal furtively, furtively means like in secret, like they do it so sneakily, like a pickpocketer. You didn't notice that they picked your pocket till you got home, till you got to your destination. You're like, wait a minute, where's my wallet? They did it. That's how they do things. When you come across a person like that, you class that person like a monkey, right? Like a monkey.
You know why I'm laughing?
Why you laughing? What the monkeys were doing?
It was caught on video. They reminded me of like growing up in New York, how we used to do as kids. Get a whole bunch of us, we surround people, whatever like that. Like, one person will be talking, other person be mean mugging, or you looking over here and all that, and the other one is, snatching your pocket or doing something, right? The monkey did that to me. If you remember the video, I put it on my Facebook page. The monkeys were surrounding me. That's when I ran out of peanuts and I had some cashews left, right? Mm-hmm. So I was feeding the peanuts cashews, but I only got a little, so I'm trying to, ration. So, right, I got it. One tried to snatch. I was like, man, I said, you ain't slick. I'm from New York. The other one distracted me after I said that, and he snatched him. The other one snatched one out of my hand. So I'm reading that. I was like, I'm being witness to the truth of that.
Ooh, now how does that apply to marriage? You marry someone, in Islam, the property The blood and honor of a Muslim is sacred. You're not supposed to transgress on those, right? And as Muslims, you are brothers and sisters in Islam. That's what you are. That's your brother and sister in Islam. We don't look at each other like that. We look at them like they are a stranger. Like, y'all have no connection. Your connection should be La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so imagine being in a marriage and being married to someone, and you got to watch your stuff. You got to watch your property. You can't trust that person. Without, like last week, we were talking about mutual consultation, right? And I have made the example about, the husband wanted to do some investment and he uses the wife's, money to do it. And he just assumed, well, she'd be okay with it. This is that monkey. You snuck and took her property and did not consult her. That is disrespect. That's disrespectful, someone touching your stuff. Having sticky fingers, as I like to say. And being married, you should feel safe. You should feel safe from their hands. You should feel safe from, having to feel like I can't trust this person, that they're going to honor, my space, because everyone should have a space. Even though the husband is the head of the household, everyone has a space, Everyone is entitled to their space. And so to live in a household like that, or be a type of person like that you do not honor others, property, and you sneak in and do it, that's not good. That's something people need to stay clear from you. And you got to always watch your back with this person. I would wanting to be with someone, I got to keep watching my back or wondering if they're going to be, if they're going to, do right by me. Like, that's stressful. That's not healthy. That's not a healthy situation to be in. So if you see this in a person, steer clear. You don't have to marry everybody that come across your path. People be thinking you have to marry every person that comes across your path. That is a lie. You don't.
Yes, y'all sisters do. Y'all do have to marry everyone that comes across your path. And if you decide not to marry me, I'm going to make you feel guilty about it. You avoiding the Quran and the Sunnah for not marrying me personally, individually, and you sinful for not marrying me. Like brothers, we actually be doing that. I'm like, subhanAllah, she's sinful for not marrying you. You that thirsty?
Ooh, child. But yeah, so you don't want to marry that has a characteristic of a monkey. The third characteristic, do you have anything else to add to that before I move on? You said no? Okay, alhamdulillah. So the third characteristic, Sheikh says, when you find a man who assails the good reputation of men, class him with the dog family. Since it is the characteristics of a dog to run away when those who stand their ground, and be the first to harm those who leave them alone. We've met people like that, right? Right? They only go towards certain people. They know who to run up on. But the ones that are like, listen, I got a bigger bark than you, you know how the dogs be whimpering going away.
It reminds me that that little meme or whatever, TikTok now, whatever, the little video I seen two different videos, right? You got a gate there, right? And dogs barking at each other. Meanwhile, they barking, talking all that trash to each other. The gate's opening. And as soon as the gate's open where they can get at each other, they both fall back. Like, I don't want none of that. The gate closed again. That's the dog.
So imagine being in a marriage like that. You have a spouse, whether it's the man or the woman, they just they have no problem smearing your reputation, smearing your name. They tell everybody how terrible you are, right? And they know that person is not going to do anything. But then when the person like, listen, I'm not tolerating that, then they want to, cower down. But then you don't retaliate against that person. So say you with someone like that. Do you lower your standards to get down and start cursing them out or start, following them? No. You go the other way. You might have to part because this person is showing you they have no respect for you. None. And even when you check them, they're going to do it again. You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, the Sheikh says, since it's the characteristic of dogs to run away from those who stand their ground, and if you ever had an issue with a dog, first thing, you taught as a child, at least we were taught, like, if a dog try to come at you, don't run. He's gonna chase you. But if you stand your ground, he'll be like, back up or whatever. And so what do you say? They run away from those who stand their ground and be the first to harm those who leave them alone. Whenever you always got somebody who's talking trash about you and, trying to destroy your character, behind your back, 90% of those people, they do not say the same thing in your face. Or if somebody says, come on, man, you just saying all this stuff. I'll call him right now. Oh, nah, I ain't calling him. But you always got your name in his name in your mouth. He says, regard him like a dog barking at you. Do not go ahead bothering to curse it. That's what it was, because when the Sheikh said it, I always say, like, when somebody, talking trash and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to drop down on all fours, because that's the way I look at them because of this. You want my attention. You want me to get it. You don't even speak my language. I'm not even down there with you. I'm not going to get down on all fours and bark back at you. And this is also, it reminds me of the hadith when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with Abu Bakr, and a man was abusing Abu Bakr, basically cursing him out. And Abu Bakr didn't respond. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was watching it, just like grinning. And then I guess dude went too far, and so Abu Bakr started getting back at him. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stopped smiling. He walked away, and he asked him about that. And he was, I forget but basically he was saying that Allah was pleased with him like that, and Allah was defending him. I forget the exact words, but when you started defending yourself, you lost that protection.
That's deep.
And so, but what does a Sheikh advise with that type of person? Avoid contention with them. In other words, avoid them. If somebody's like that, stay away from them. You don't befriend people like that. And a lot of times we have to learn these type of things. It's even a meme. People make memes about it. They say, what if they're talking to you about somebody else? Trust and believe they're talking to somebody else about you. So if you're about to marry someone like that, and that they always talking bad about other people and all that kind of stuff behind it, behind their back and whatever, we need to keep that in mind. You want to avoid a type person like that, because you'll be married, right? And then, because we are human, married couples do have disagreements, the anger, and you marry that person, y'all get angry with each other. You already know their character. They're going to go to somebody else and talk about you, and your married business is going to be all out in the street. Everybody going to know what's going on in your house. And we don't, when we angry, we don't like have limits, right? When you start talking trash against your husband or you start talking trash about your wife, right? You're not going to stop at the issue that you were mad about. And you know what? My husband, he stink too, right? Right. Matter of fact, he missed Fajr last week. And on top of that, it ain't gonna stop there. It's gonna keep going on and on and on, right? But this is a learning process for us. So we have to watch out for these things. You sitting down, you intended or trying to get married, and all of your conversations about someone else. Not only, even if you're not the speaker, you the listener, so you share in the sin. That's bad enough, but that should give you the insight to be like, hey, just like they tearing somebody else's back out, your back could be next. So you want to avoid people like that. That's all I have to say on that.
Alhamdulillah. The next animal and people that we have to watch out in our spouses and in ourselves. Let me stress that, in ourselves. When you find a man who is by nature contentious, right? One, if you say yes, he say no, doing opposite, right? If you say no, he says yes. Then class him with the donkey family, because it is the characteristic of a donkey to move away if you pull it near, and not go ahead and draw near when you push it away. You make use of a donkey, but you do not bother to curse it or get rid of it. Some of us are married to these type of people. They just gotta do opposite. Can you do this? No. You don't like certain things. They do it anyway. They know it burns you up. They know that it ticks you off, but they do it.
This one always stuck out to me. You know the way I deal with people like that? If I have to deal with them?
How?
I try to make them think that I want to go left when I really want to go right. They think they're doing something because they're going against me, but they're actually doing what I want them to do.
You know what? That is so funny. I remember I was interviewing for a job, and so they gave the scenario. I was working on the project, but everybody's not on board. How do you get to complete it? And that was one of the suggestions. Make people think it was their idea. Even though it was your idea that you came up with, instead of putting it out there, we should do such and such. And then how people like take over and like to take credit for stuff that they didn't initiate. You yourself know that was your idea, but you're big enough to be like, I don't need to get the credit. I'm just good that it's happening, right? Some of us are mature like that. So that was the thing. You make people act like they're the one that's they made that suggestion to benefit the whole. And so that's a good idea, good tactic to use.
A lot of people, a lot of times when they in the engagement process or they having sit downs, right? I've seen a lot of people they don't even get married because of this. Right? Because you having to sit down with that type of person, right? And so the person says something, like, I like fish. Well, I don't like fish all like that, whatever, right? I always voted Democrat. Oh, no, I don't know. I prefer the Republicans, right? And you may think that's just their opinion, but sometimes you got to test people, right? Maybe come back some weeks down the line. You know what? I'm feeling the Republican Party. Not me now. The Democrats seem like they got more going with them. And you're like, wait, last week you just said you was with the Republican. Now you said the Democrat, right? There's people like that, right? So once you do your little test finding people's like that, okay, no matter what you say, they're going to say the opposite, right? And sometimes people will be, trying to get to know each other during marriage, and they be getting in heated arguments about philosophical stuff because one or both of them are like that. They be arguing because, no matter what this topic is, it don't matter what the subject is. They're contentious. And if you say up, they're going to say down. If you say it's partly cloudy outside, they go like, no, 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 no. I don't agree with that. It's partly sunny. It's raining hard outside. No, it ain't raining hard, man. It rained way harder than that before, right? It don't matter what you say. They're going to say the opposite.
That would drive me crazy. Like, y'all don't have no like balance. Like, you're not going to like everything that your spouse likes. You adapt to it.
Yeah.
Because that's what they like. But to be in the to contradict them on every single issue, like, come on, what you there for?
That's why I ignore certain people on Facebook. Certain people, right? You could be talking about something, whatever, right? They could agree with you, but they'll come behind and say the exact same thing you said, but maybe make one little addition. I'm like, ain't that what we just said? Yeah. But I'm saying, it's the type of people, you did something wrong, and I'm going to be there to fix it for you, right? Some people, they don't even do it on the stat. They'll inbox you, and you'll be like me, I'll be like, wait a minute. It sounds like a correction, but you're saying the exact same thing I said in your own words. I'm like, ain't that what I said? Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Sometimes you need clarity. It depends.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you need clarity, not to be like bumping heads, just to be bumping heads. Let me see what Khalifa got to say. He said, let me see if I can put it all up here. It might not. Okay. When I was growing up, me and my homies used to do that to each other. If someone would be talking trash on one of the other homies, we would tell the one talking, hold up, let me go get such and such. And we would go and get the other person being talked about, so the matter would be put out there. We did this for two reasons. One, to build loyalty as we threw, I don't know, to each other. Let me see. And two, to remove cowardly traits for when we had to deal with people from outside the hood.
I think most of us, at least especially during our generation, I think all hoods had different ways, whatever that you did it. You know what? A lot of times, a lot of ways that would happen with us growing up, right? You with your homies, right? You talking trash about somebody, right? They won't necessarily do it like, yo, I'm gonna take you to them. Your homies will go right to the dude, right? And then later on be like, my man was talking mad trash about you. He said such and such and such and such. You right over there, come on. Right? Right? So you come, right? And you come, you see dude, right? And then it's like, all right, what was you telling us the other day? There he go right there. Right? Because it's another excuse to see a fight too, right?
So
right? And for the same purposes that Khalifa said, right? Nah, say it now, right? You talking about, say it again. We didn't hear you right the first time. Say it again, right? And sometimes it be your own homeboys, and the dude that you talk about ain't down with y'all. But like we said, like growing up, nobody want no suck around them. You doing all that talking, and then when they standing right there, you ain't saying that, right? And so a lot of times, like, even and if it wasn't that deep, like, nah, man, y'all gotta do something, man, right? You got a slap box or something. That's what we used to do. Nah, man, you talking all that trash and you just gonna sit there and take it. Nah, ain't none of y'all leave. Y'all got a slap box or something. You give us 5 minutes, right? That's what we used to do.
It's silly.
And this is not like just restricted, like, that was everywhere. Nowadays, maybe I guess that's why there was less shootings. Because I personally think that a lot of people are softer now than they were back then. But it just seems like there's more gunplay now. Like, you get beef with somebody, you skip the argument, you skip the fight, and you go straight to the guns. Right? Like, no, we don't got to do all that. Get it in right there.
That's deep.
Hold on for a minute. Hold on.
What's up?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imam Yahya Muhammad. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam, Salabi Kato, Sister Halima. Thank you for joining us. Alhamdulillah. Don't worry about it. Alhamdulillah. About being late. Like I said, we got a recording. Just go listen to the listen to the recording. Whatever you missed, just go back to it and comment. Alhamdulillah. We welcome your comments. But yes, please, please tell us about your experiences about dealing with people that we just listed so far and describe like as a spouse. Not to be backbiting. That's not not trying to backbite, but just recollect, like, you know what, I have come across somebody or in myself, this is more of a self-reflection. Yes, I did recognize, some of these characteristics in myself, and I think I need to change that, because you liking to an animal is beneath you. You know what I'm saying? That's beneath you. And some of us have animalistic characteristics. All we want to do is eat, sleep, and have sex. That's what animals do. They eat, they sleep, and they have sex. That's it. They procreate. And if that's all your aspiration is, limited to, then how are you different from the animals?
Well, it is good to be an animal sometime.
Anyway, so this one is my favorite.
But hold on, before you go there, one thing that I recognize, and I think this is kind of like a trait in this, a characteristic of Islam, like in outside of Islam and other, specializations or fields of human endeavor, it's like, it seemed like there's like a trend that when you want to understand something, like you make it real complicated. And so the common person may not be able to understand. And you word it in ways that, are very hard for the person that's not, in that field to understand. Like, I think this kind of like shows how Islam, like almost like mathematics, like you're dealing with fractions. You don't leave the numbers way up there. You break them down to the smallest common denominator. You make this fraction small first, then you work with it. Then you add and subtract, and you make the denominators common, and then you work with it. I don't even know if they still do that now. I be looking at the math now, I'm like, what is that? All right. Why don't they just carry the number? Y'all doing this +1 and add that over there, then put that. Huh? You're doing math, not puzzles. But anyway, right? It's just really weird. But Islam is like the same way. A lot of times you want to get real deep and real philosophical, trying to understand and what type of this and all that. No, it's real simple. Just break it down. Not acting normal. And one thing that we all have in common, our base is animalistic behavior, because we and the animals are just like each other, as Allah says, right? The only thing that makes us different is our intellect. So when we put down our intellect, what you have left is the animal. Now you just got to find out what type of animal you're dealing with and treat them the same way you would treat that literal animal. That's what I wanted to say. Islam simplifies things so that you can understand it better, then you build from there. Right. And this is one characteristic that Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, rahimahullah, Malcolm X had with himself. I heard when we was living in New York, I was listening to on WBAI, I think it's WBAI, forgot, whatever, that station in the middle of the dial. But anyway, and Betty Shabazz was still alive, and she was being interviewed about her husband, and she said that he had the ability to talk in a way that the common uneducated person in the street could understand what he's saying, as well as the university educated scholar. And he was able, or with his gift of speech, able to explain high level, sophisticated, international events and affairs and politics to the person on the street. Now, that's a gift. Not everybody could do that. And I always remember how she described her husband like that. And I think Safia Bukhari was interviewing her. The one who wrote that book. Yeah, I think she was interviewing her, and she said that. And it just reminded me of how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is described. He described himself. He said, "Bu'ithtu bi jawami al-kalam." I've been sent with very comprehensive speech. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke, the high intellectual understood him, and the desert Bedouin understood him. And so a lot of times we talking about human nature here. We talking about how to deal with people, how to psychoanalyze people, and the sheikh, by using the Quran, and this is a tafsir of Quran, and he's teaching us how to psychoanalyze people and how to interact with people. I don't want people to miss that point. Okay, you can go ahead to your favorite.
To my favorite. Wa alaikum salam to barakatuh, Brother Hudayfa. Alhamdulillah. Mashallah. It's interesting that you say that, because we have to admit, and I'll get to the next point, we've been dummied down. We think things are complicated, and it's really not. It's just at the level that we should understand it. And so when we're not taught a certain way, it shows, and you get accustomed to that type of learning, where you don't aspire to things that's supposed to be complicated. But the things that you deem complicated, it's not complicated. It's the rudimentary stuff that you should know. You understand what I'm saying? That's how dummied down we have become. We're not as sharp as we used to be. Look at the Sahabas around the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, they were young, right? A lot of them were young. They were able to retain a lot of information, right? They were able to put in practice a lot of the ideas that were taught, right? Look at our youth. Are they at that level? No. Look at their mindset. Some of them don't want to work. Some of them don't even want to work. They're very lazy, right? Somebody got to spoon feed them information. They're not motivated to do it on their own. So you don't even know what their natural talents are, because they're deep in there. They haven't been cultivated. So when they get into college, it's like, woo, like, oh, you discover yourself. It's already, you hadn't been toiled enough and fertilized. So when you get to that point, you're not just discovering yourself, you're just discovering the world versus yourself, because there in college, it's easy to become a non-Muslim in college. Easily. Because everything is about proof-based. Prove it to me, this or whatever, according to the statistic, blah, 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 right? Right? Everything is that. If I can't see it, it don't exist. If it ain't in the numbers, it ain't been, categorized, it haven't categorized, put in the catalog, whatever. If it's not in certain books, it don't exist. We believe in Allah, that he exists, right? But we don't see Allah, right? But you have to use your aql, not only use the text, but you have to use your mind to understand that he exists. Like Allah says, he made the Quran, Arabic Quran, so that you may understand, right? And use your aql, right? We're not using our aql. So everything seems complicated now. So when you are trying to learn, it's like, dang, why can't I get this? It's not sticking? Because we've been dumbified. That's my word, dumbified. We're not challenged. We don't put the same care in learning our deen and learning this, the ways and action of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't give much care to that. We give much care to everything else. So think about that. It's not complicated. Like I said, the law doesn't put on anything on us that we can't handle. That's our limitations. We put those limitations on ourselves, not a law. So one of my favorites, when you find a man hunting for others people's faults, class him with the family of flies. So now we with the insects. A fly lands on the body and only looks for places where there is blood and uncleanliness. Brush him off and pay no more heed to him than you would do a fly. Would you do to a fly, right? You brush him off, right? So, you're applying it to just relationship in general. Imagine being married to someone like that. You don't do nothing right. Oh, you missed a spot of dust right here, right? Or there's a wrinkle in my throat. I told you to iron my throat, but there's like one line wrinkle right there. Like every single thing you point out, it's not really your fault, right? You're human. But you can't do that to them. They perfect. So their only purpose is to look down on you and point out your faults, but they disregard their own. Because if they were smart, they would pay attention to their faults and stop being busy with your faults. This is your brother and sister in Islam. Y'all partners. Y'all supposed to be best friends. Y'all acting like niggas in the street. What kind of marriage? That's not a healthy marriage. Can you elaborate on that? Like being in a situation like that or being around someone like that, all they do is find faults. And they're only looking for faults. They're not looking to praise and give admiration and say, you know what, I love you. Oh, I appreciate when you do this. No, you ain't do this right. You ain't do this right. Or, yo, never do anything for me. Back and forth. What you have to say about that, Habibi?
It's mentioned in the Muwatta of Imam Malik. And this is, I believe, a hadith related through the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam from Isa ibn Maryam. لا تنظروا في ذنوب الناس كأنكم أرباب وانظروا في ذنوبكم كأنكم عبيد. Do not look at the sins or faults of other people's as if you were lords, or rather look at your own selves as if you were slaves. It's if we go searching and seeking after the faults of other people, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose our faults, even if it's in the deepest recesses of our home. Nobody know about it, gonna be exposed. And that's why even if you look, some of the people who get exposed and embarrassed the most, look at what they were doing before they got exposed. They were busy exposing everyone else. That's like now a lot of people, they got YouTube channels. Their whole YouTube channel is like celebrity gossip, right? And so they go around, they got their connections and they get all the dirt on the celebrities and they build their platform up and their brand up and they make money off of exposing other people's, sins and dirt. Keep watching. Very soon, their stuff is going to be all in the street. Like I give you a popular example from our generation, Wendy Williams. She had an old TV show based on that stuff. And her career, she's like the template for that type of that market. A lot of people built their platform based on imitating her, and now all her stuff and her personal business, people know the name of her husband or ex-husbands, jump off, and the baby they had, and all kind of stuff, diseases, homosexual accusations, and all kind of stuff. Right when her career was based upon exposing other people. So, what comes around goes around. That's my advice, for anyone who makes it their business to look around and dig up other people's faults. Beware, because, yours is coming. Can't hear you.
Brother Ahmadu said, I tell on myself. I was at a grocery store and two females, one white, the other Indian, was in front of me in the checkout. I was looking down, and as I looked up, I noticed the white lady had a large bum. I said in my head, look at this trail of trash. White girl and her friend, she probably giving more blacks rides than Greyhound. She looked at me and told the cashier, I'll pay for his items also. I felt terrible, so I paid for the person behind me. Never judge a book by its cover. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. Ooh, people be humbling you.
Yeah.
You get humbled real quick.
Yeah.
You never know who you come across. Never. Let me see here. Sister Halima says, Sister, as you said, Sister, we've been dumbed down. We aren't taught to critically think. It has been replaced with immediate gratification, among other things. That is so true. Look, for instance, you know what's a pet peeve of mine? You know, they make the cars now, you got the little lights on the end of your side view mirrors, and then it like flashes when somebody is come across next to you. They even got it where it buzz. It lets you know, hey, somebody's coming. Why would you drive around like that? Look out your rear view mirror. Look at your side view mirrors. You're not supposed to be driving like this. You're supposed to be looking around. You don't look like for a long time and say, okay, they behind. You're supposed to be aware of your surroundings. You don't even have to look them all. You got the little camera in the front, you know, where the dashboard, where the radio is now. You ain't got to do no kind of thinking. You don't have to take no precaution. The light will go ding, ding, ding. Something's next to you. Oh, okay, somebody's passing me. So it's like, it's like dumbing down driving. Like driving you used to have to learn defensive driving. I don't know if they do that anymore, right? How you going to defensively drive if you're not even paying attention to your surroundings? You just depending on the cameras and them little ding ding lights on the side of your, you know, the side view mirrors. How do you defensively drive? You can't depend on that, because if you do, guess what? You're going to get in an accident. You have things that's called blind spots. What is a blind spot? And this is where the shaitan gets us. He be in our blind spot. There's a certain area, if you look straight ahead and you try to look through your peripheral, meaning like put your hands out and then put your hand further back. If you put your hands out to the side and you foot it all the way back, there's a point where you cannot see, right? There's maybe a car that's right there in that blind spot, but you don't know because your mirrors are not showing that. We gotta stop using these crutches in life. Stop using the crutch. Stop using Google, right? Stop trying to get this microwave Islam. That's why you're not getting.
I use Google. What's wrong with Google?
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. You're not getting the sweetness of Iman out of it. You can't taste it. You can't taste Iman. It tastes bland, like I described, that spaghetti sauce.
It don't always taste bland.
I'm talking about the spaghetti sauce before it really become spaghetti sauce. I'm talking about starting from scratch.
What's your proof that it tastes bland?
You know what?
I'm being that contentious person.
You being that donkey. Get out of here. So we have to stop using these crutches because they're hurting us. And then our children develop those same characteristics. They don't want to learn. They get bored easily. And by these shortcuts, it enables people that procrastinate and enables those that get bored. You ever have a child that say, I'm bored? They got so much stuff to do. They got a yard to play in, toys, but I'm bored. You know how much that pees me off? Like, what? When I was a child, I always found something to do. You can make anything a game, right? Safely, right? Anything. But now they have no imagination. They can't think outside the box. All they see is what's on TikTok and this, and that's all they imitate and gravitate to and aspire to. And it's sad. You have anything else to say?
No.
Mashallah. Oh, she said microwave gratification. That's right. Let's see here. Ziryab Jamal said the hadith where the prophet sweeps up Aisha's mess after she got angry. In today's age, if a man's wife brings food and his other wife drops the container of food, all hell would break loose. They ain't lying. They not lying. Yeah, we different people. May we be like the mothers of the Ummahatu Ummah. May we be like them. I mean, and may the brothers be more like the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Be more manly like that. Because it takes a man to do that. That's a real man. People think being a man is always like being macho and masculine and hard and no feelings. And no, a man is a compassionate. And at the same time, he's able to lead and demand that respect. You can have all that in one. Our society make it feel like it's a crime to be a man, to be a masculine man. It's a crime because it's been adulterated. You know, we have not seen too many examples of manhood. We haven't. Malcolm X, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Rahimullah. He was a man. That was a man's man. And he didn't have to, he commanded respect. He didn't have to do nothing extra. It was all in it was just his aura. It was just something that exuded from him, you know? Some people have to learn that, but it's possible. And that's attractive. That's sexy. Alhamdulillah. Let's see here. And so also said the Prophet ﷺ could easily have blamed her and made it into a big thing, but he didn't. He just swept up the mess and had the foresight to recognize what happened with Aisha. That's beautiful. Y'all brothers need to take note of that. This is your Prophet ﷺ, okay? He didn't just taught us about Tawheed, right? He taught us about those human qualities that you can have and still command respect and honor. MashaAllah.
I don't like the way you say y'all brothers.
Nah.
We need to put a little bit more respect on our name, y'all brothers. I don't know about all that. Did you eat that cake yet?
When I say Google, what I mean by that, because we have to define this, you have words and meanings. Using Google, you may want to look up something real quick, like an ayat, right? You don't know what the ayat is. And you put a few words into the browser, and it'll pull up the ayat. What do? You go to your Quran and open it up, right? Usually it's right. Sometimes it's wrong. That stuff be wrong. But to rely on it, that's not what I'm talking against. I'm talking about the against of relying on that information.
Nah, sister, you was talking against Google. You ain't got the Google app on your phone. You making an inquiry against Google. Matter of fact, let's spend the next 15 minutes refuting you about how you said using Google.
Listen, you want to use that straw man argument? That's not what I was talking about. I had to clarify unless somebody not understand that. I don't have anything against Google. Google can be your friend sometimes, right? You can find your phone on Google. You lose it, Google will help you find your phone. You don't even have to download the app, alhamdulillah.
Well, I got an app for that. I don't need Google. I got another app for that.
Mashallah. Woo. So the next characteristics on our list. You want to read some or you want it all on me?
I'll read it.
Okay.
If you are afflicted by a sultan who assaults both properties and lives, class him with the family of lions and be on your guard against him and flee from him. As An-Nabila, I don't know who that is, said, he's one of the pre-Islamic poets of Arabia, said, no peace can exist in the face of a lion's roar. So he says, Sultan, this means the ruler, any ruler, president, government, doesn't necessarily have to be like an individual, like, the ruler or their forces or their government, if you're afflicted with them. And this is why, again, you know, why would you go try to be all up close near a lion? Think about that. And think about all of the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about the scholars who try to be around the rulers. The rulers are like this lion. You don't try to go near it. You stay away from it. And if you are around him, you know, you have to enjoin the right and forbid the wrong, and be ready for them consequences.
That is true.
That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afdalul jihad kalimatul haq inda sultan al-jair," that the best of jihads is speaking the truth in the face of a tyrannical ruler. Right, because speaking the truth in front of somebody that ain't got no power, anybody can do that. But speak the truth in front of someone that can kill you, someone that can, cause serious bodily harm to you and in your family and your property and everything. That's something different. That's why a lot of people don't speak the truth now, because they know the consequences. Sometimes, they say, when there's free speech, we got freedom of speech. Yeah, you got the freedom of speech. Believe that if you want. You do have the freedom to say whatever you want. And they also have the freedom to punish you for saying whatever you want, right? I remember I said that in a Juma khutbah at a university, right? Right? I was trying to tell them ain't no freedom of speech. It's a myth. Freedom of speech is dependent on who's the one doing the speaking. If you have power, yeah, you could freely speak and say whatever you want to say, because ain't nothing going to happen to you. But if you're weak and you poor and you're the underclass of your society, you have no freedom of speech. And yes, okay, yes, you can. You do have the freedom to say whatever you want. It's there in the law and the Constitution, and they free to lock your behind up after you say it, or kill you after you say it. And that's the reality. And we have to recognize that is the reality. Don't get caught up in their myths. Don't believe the lie, right? No, I have the right to say what I want to say. Okay, you have the right to say it. Just be ready to deal with them consequences. Like Ahmadu said, rather die like a man than live like a coward. Exactly. Exactly. But don't delude yourself into thinking that, okay, I can say what I want and nobody gonna do nothing to me. Nah. It's a free country. It sure is free. Like, a lot of times people actually believe the lie and then get all surprised when the consequences happen. No, why are you surprised? But anyway, you got anything you want to add on that point? Can't hear you.
Yes, I do. As far as this, the Sultan, the man is the head of the household, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a shepherd and he's responsible for his flock. If you know, and this has happened. This is the telltale signs of how people see themselves and their value. If you know of a man who don't keep his hands to himself, what makes you think he's going to change when you are his wife? You come into the situation like, I'm going to conquer that person, or I'm going to subdue them. That's not for you to do. And you shouldn't put yourself in that position to be harmed. Because some brothers, and I'm not saying all, there's some brothers that have serious problems. They have anger issues, and they do not respect women. And so they hit them. And I'm talking about Muslim men hitting Muslim women, their wives. And so if you recognize or you know about this, like you were saying, people, they don't worry about that. They worry about the honeymoon, right? But then when things get serious, now all of a sudden there's a realization about this person when the signs were already there. So if you notice that he doesn't respect women and that he has no problem putting his hands on you, slapping you around, punching you to keep you in your place, and you know this, why should you expect anything different? He's going to do that to you. So the advice, and sometimes it's hard to advise someone like this because they are used to this type of relationships. They think this is normal. They may have seen their mother, their sisters, their aunts, their grandma going through the same thing, and they feel like this is natural and this is how a man's supposed to treat a woman, and she just need to take it, eat the cake at a man type, situation. And so this is important. Then you have these same men that strips you of your livelihood. Now he's supposed to take care of you, but he makes it where you don't have nothing for your own, so you don't go nowhere. You can't escape. You can't escape from him. So now it turns into oppression. It's already an oppressive situation, but this is really oppressive. And these are live situations that actually occur. And may Allah free these women from these situations. I mean, may Allah free them because it's no joke. There are brothers right now that's respected in these communities and nobody say nothing to them. But they know that he be busting his wife upside the head. But nobody say nothing. That's a good brother such and such. You're part of the blame and you're going to answer for that because you know about that situation. We are supposed to be looking out for one another. You are supposed to intervene. That's why a lot of couples do not want to come to the masjid and seek counseling because they don't want nobody in their business because it's going to reveal some things about them. But this is a good thing because there's checks and balances. If the person know that they're going to get checked, they're not going to do those things. They're going to treat their family right. They're going to treat their wife right. These are check and balances that Islam has in place that we overlook and shortchange ourselves. Think about the spaghetti sauce. That's why it's bland. That's why you don't feel protected. That's why you don't feel valued because you're not putting all the ingredients or taking consideration all the ingredients in there. So the next, my co-host, he disappeared. I'll continue on. If you are afflicted by a man giving to cunning, class him with the family of foxes and leave him with his nature. Foxes is cunning. They're slick. They're deceptive. They achieve the means by deception. Imagine being married to someone like this. You got a brother going to a sister. I see how your husband, how he treats you. I could do you better. He's secretly having these conversations with him. And then he gets that sister to divorce her husband. Didn't even speak to the husband. He don't even know what's going on, but he's talking in her ear. First of all, she has a problem. She need to be checked. But she listened to him and divorced that husband and then married this sucker. And then wonder why you all oppressive. It had nothing to do with the deen. So you feel like you should be treated a certain way because look how you started off. Look how you started this thing off. Deceiving that woman. How many brothers out here is, loathing or, they're looking to make their entrance in one of these sisters' lives that are married. He has hased. He don't want that blessing. He wants that blessing to leave them and he wants to partake in it. There's people in our midst that's like that. And we have to watch out for that. And they'll do anything to break y'all up so that he can have them. And vice versa. You have some sisters do the same thing. A'udhu billah. So you got to know what type of person you are. Are you a fox? Or you are the victim of a fox? Don't be the victim of a fox. You gotta see game far away. That's where learning. You're a student from birth to death. You are a student. You got to pay attention. You can't, be naive. That's getting old. Being naive is not cute. It's actually, I would say, haram to be naive, just on purpose, just not trying to aspire to be better, to elevate yourself. That's like haram. SubhanAllah. You have some input on that, the foxes and their cunning ways?
No, I don't.
Okay. Here's another one. If you are afflicted by a slanderer who separates friends, class him with the family of the polecat, which is an animal whose flatus is unbearable. Flatus is their passing wind. Try to make it clean. Their passing wind is so unbearable that people disperse. The Arabs say when friends break up, a polecat broke wind in their midst, so they disperse. Just as people drive away this animal when it approaches them and prevent it from getting in among them, so also should a slanderer be driven out from among them, and they should move away from him. So some people are like polecats. Their whole mission is to separate you. And that kind of relate to the fox. You all deceiving. You act like a polecat too, because you slandering the brother just because you want his wife. You slander him bad. Sister, you slandering, your husband because you trying to get with another dude. Or you slander the sister about her husband because you want her husband. And it split people up. Now this thing says friends. You friends in a marriage. You're supposed to be. Best friends there is. You shouldn't have a best friend outside your marriage. And I'm talking about of the same sex, the opposite sex. That is exclusively for your husband to enjoy that relationship. And then on the other hand, a wife to enjoy that relationship. That's for you as partners. SubhanAllah. The Imam mentioned it in the beginning of the class. Can you say that title?
Bayan Wujubu Hijra, the obligation of making Hijra by Sheikh Uthman bin Fodio.
MashaAllah. Shukran.
Chapter number 56.
So they drive people away. And then you end up losing your family over some nonsense. And slander is a lie. It's not telling the truth. Backbiting could be the truth. But slandering, that means you lied on someone to achieve an ends, to get what you want. Maybe you don't even want the person. You just want them to break up because you don't like to see them happy. You have those people in your circle. They be so close, they're not congratulators. They're just waiting for you to slip. They're just waiting for the opportunity to mess up. So if they're close to you, they have some inside information and they'll use that information and twist it and then put your business out there. So a lot of these animal characteristics, they mesh into one another. And we have to watch out for these type of people. Everybody is not your friend. Everybody is not congratulating for you. Everybody is not applauding. They don't wish you any good. They just dare to see things fall. So just because they're in your face don't mean that they're your friend. You know who your friends are because they're going to have your back in your face and when they're not in your face. Like you was mentioning about that person talking about you to someone. That person that come to you to talk about someone is going to say, don't talk to me about that person. That's my friend. You're supposed to have my back. How many of us do that? Somebody come to you and say, hey, such and such and so-and-so. Do you say, you should make tawbah. Stop talking about my sister in Islam. And that's your sister in Islam too, or your brother in Islam. How many of us check each other?
Most of us don't. You can go back to this polecat thing, right? This polecat characteristic. because how many people you ain't never had no problem with, right? And then all of a sudden they start backing up from you. And you're like, what happened? And then you find out that they was around someone else that don't like you. That person just farted around them, right? What's the word? Flatus? How they translated it, right? Right. So they didn't, and they just okay, that's what they do. They bust off, and now friends is separated, it's distance. Why? Did y'all have an argument? Did y'all have beef? Did one of y'all do something to the other? No. Somebody just came in your midst and, let off, and then you'll go away. And as the Sheikh said, you got to get those type of people out your midst because they're only going to cause division. You keep letting them let off, everybody going to be divided because everybody going to back away. Like, I don't want to be around this.
Because after a while, it's going to seem like it's true. You know how people say, it's too many people for it not to be true. Sometimes that's not the truth.
Yeah.
You can't go by that. It's too many people saying the same thing. It must be true. That's not proof.
Yeah.
That just means that they affected a whole lot of people to abandon you. And what does Allah says? If the whole world came against you, there's nothing they can do without his permission.
Right.
So by them being, in cahoots with one another don't mean a thing. That's not proof against whatever the person that you are.
Right. And a lot of times if you trace back, why everybody split up, if you were able to, but a lot of people, they don't have integrity anymore. They won't tell you, right? It's amazing. We do stuff backwards, right? Like we be quiet when we should talk, and we talk when we should be quiet. But anyway, you trace it. If you were able to trace it, you will see that the reason why all of these people is acting like that, it go back to the same polecat, right?
And there was something in their heart anyway to be easily to be swayed against you. So that's a telltale sign on your part.
Exactly.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh, Sister Sorella. I'm sorry, I didn't return the greetings. We're going to do a couple more. Before we end, we've been on here almost 2 hours. And when you see a man who does not give ear to learning and wise sayings, who flees from the gatherings of learned and wise, a man who's used to giving ear to worldly tales and other superstitions and what goes on in the gatherings of the common people, then class him with the family of the dung beetles and scarabs, because they delight in eating human excrement and are accustomed to the smell of filthy things. You only see them sticking to empty places and places where clothes are washed. They have an aversion to the smell of musk and flowers, not stinky musk under the arms, but musk, like smell good. They die when musk or flowers are cast on them. So this type of person, when it's time for class, imagine being married to someone, it's time for class, and one spouse say, hey, let's have class. Oh, I got something to do. Oh, I gotta go to work. Always some excuse. It's like they get the hives or something. You say learning, they start itching and, start having all types of convulsions. But you say, hey, there's a show about to come on, a movie but I wanted to see. Oh, okay. And you be there, to watch it. But when it comes to learning, you half sleep, nodding off. But when it's time for the worldly things, no problem. That's a problem. You want to elaborate on that?
I think you already did. Like, I always say you just said it. Like, some people like they're allergic to learning. As soon as and I mentioned this before. Like I tested it before. Ramadan, iftar, masjid is packed. Our community, we have, potluck or iftar every night during Ramadan. Well, not last year because of COVID, but normally, right? So, after iftar, everybody's relaxed, kick back, you know, talking about everything, politics, this, that, sports, everything like this, right? And we make Isha as soon as it comes in so that we can get to Tarawih. Now, there's times I say, these brothers, if you don't say nothing, they'll be kicking it to 12 o'clock at night. No exaggeration. No exaggeration. But as soon as, say, call it down for Isha. Some of them, okay, I got to go. You heard it. It's there done. You're not supposed to go nowhere, right? So some of them, like, literally would run out and not make Isha in congregation. Forget about Tarawih prayer. Isha in congregation. Like, they just like, oh, I got to go. Not saying this, I was like, nah, I said, maybe it's just me. I'm tripping. So I said, next day, like, call it down now? No, hold up. What about now? Oh, hold up. no, watching, sitting there all day talking, right? Okay, it's about a half hour, hour, right? Past when we normally call it down. All right, call it down now. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. All right, like Hassan Ali just said, all right, I'm going to head out. Like, subhanAllah. Sometimes some people, alhamdulillah, they will stay and make Isha, right? But they'll be in another part of the masjid talking all night. Everybody else praying, they talking. Like, subhanAllah. Like, and then the same type of people forget classes, right? You will not see them. They just not there. They don't do class at all, period. Unless it's a special event type of class. It's a sheikh from out of town. It's going to be some food there and all that. And it has those bells and whistles. Then we come in. I'm not going to memorize nothing that the sheikh said. I'm not going to learn anything, but I'm going to be there. And, I'm going to eat. Right? It's the same type of people. They just have aversion to that type of stuff. And so, like what the sheikh is saying, dung beetle, a beetle is a beetle that rolls doodle and eats it. That's the characteristic. We're supposed to be people of knowledge, or people that love people of knowledge, our whole deen is based on knowledge. Hassan Ali said they want to keep their worship secret. Alhamdulillah.
But not only that, it's deep. If you look up dung beetles and scarabs, that they lay their larvae, they babies on it. That's how the baby is going through its gestational stages or what have you. Like how the babies are in the mother's womb and they going through all the different stages of growth, they land their babies on filth like that. So that means they base their whole, their legacy on stuff that doesn't matter, which is this dunya, and not on those things that's going to be worthy for the hereafter. And so unlike animals, men and jinn, we are held accountable for how we live here. The animals aren't held to that standard. They don't go to the Jannah or hell. Allah on the Day of Judgment is going to have the animals come before to compass, seek one of the animals going to seek recompense from the other animal that did them wrong. They're at least going to have that. But then after that, Allah's going to command them to become dust, right? We, on the other hand, we don't have that luxury. Leaving this world, just start our next journey for the next world, and it doesn't stop. We got to go through Barzakh, right? And depending on how you live here in this world, will depend on what your situation is going to be in the next life, right? Then we wait through that period. And then when the trumpets are blown, and that final trumpet is blown, and we are raised up before Allah, now we got to get judged based on our deeds, based on how we treated other people, based on what other people, how they, what they did to us. And then we're sent to our, destination, our final, not final place, but if you're a believer, you may have to take a trip to the hellfire for a minute, but you'll eventually get out. But the animals, we have to step our game up. You don't want to be treated or like to be acting like an animal. It's not to our benefit. So to be a dung beetle, and you just concerned with the dunya, I'm not talking about the dunya like making money, making halal money, having the halal means and things like that. You have to have the dunya. That's how we got to survive. I'm talking about those things that it is no benefit to us, to our hereafter. We're more concerned with that. We know everything about everything else, but what we're supposed to believe are Fard Ayns. And if you're not learning, if you don't know your Fard Ayns, what are you doing? How are you spending your time? Because there's no excuse. There's always a class going on. So the sister say, well, maybe they don't know how to pray. Okay, if they don't know how to pray, why are you sitting there talking and wasting time? Ask someone to teach you to pray. There's no excuse. If you want to do that in secret, go ahead. But it's incumbent on you to learn how to pray. You're a Muslim. Once you're a Muslim and you're a mukallaf and you reach that age of responsibility, you got to learn how to pray. So we try to be, shortcut and try to be all like, oh, no, we can't. Because we make all types of excuses for everything else. But when it comes to the deen, it's not important. It's not a priority. We easy to go out of it and rather follow another way that's no benefit to us. You rather go a way that you are worshiping a God other than Allah, or worshiping a way that have you committing shirk, committing all types of black magic, all types of craziness. You rather go that way. SubhanAllah. I want to end off on this because I said we're not going to go too past our time because we're almost 2 hours. The last two I want to mention, I'll do two. When you meet a man who is persistently adorns himself as a bride, bleaching his clothes all the time, adjusting his turban, taking care that nothing touch him, looking at his shoulders, and having no interest besides preening himself, then class him with the peacock and keep away from him. How many people do you know, men or even women, all they concerned is how they look? Don't get too close to me. You're going to make me dirty. Your smell is going to mix up with my smell. How do you deal with that person? You can't. You got to get away from him because he has no concern for you. If you was in a pinch, do you think they're going to reach out their hand and help you up? No, because you're going to dirty their clothes. You're going to mess they up. You're going to mess up their, situation because they're busy helping you. When that should be their least concern of existence. You should be wanting for your brother what you want for yourself. That's what the Prophet was telling him. None of you truly believes until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So you should not be content that you are okay, right? You should not be content that well, as long as you okay, I ain't got nothing to do with you. You need to find out how to get through the situation the best way you can. I can't help you. That shouldn't be our attitude. Now, if you're not able to do something, what's the best thing to do? Make dua for the person. Do something to help them, to better themselves if you can. And the least of that is to make dua. You may not have any material, material things to give that person, but you can offer dua to Allah to open up for them, means for them, right? Do you have any comments on that as far as this peacock type of person?
Give him a mirror. Nothing. You already basically said it. Like the person's only concerned with themselves and how they look. You're not going to really get too much benefit from a person like that. Alhamdulillah, I'm good, Habib.
Alhamdulillah. Now, the last but not least is when you meet a hypocrite.
I thought that was the last one.
No, I said two. You were listening. I said two. When you meet a hypocrite, concealing the opposite of what he reveals, class him with the family of the Jerboa, which is a desert rat. It's Jerboa. You can look that up on Google. Which is a desert rat. It look like a kangaroo. It got like skinny legs. It looked just like a kangaroo, but a rat on kangaroo legs, right? That lives in an underground hole called Nafika, which means with two openings. So he live in this hole, and it has one hole way somewhere, and then it has a hole where you think it's on the only hole, right? So it enters through one of the holes and goes out through the other. From this word, nafika is derived the word for a hypocrite, munafik. Turn away from such a man. In short, the types of human behavior are manifold. If you treat each accordingly to what his type of behavior requires, you will have no trouble with him, nor will he have any from you. And Allah knows best. So if you know people aren't straight up, right? You treat them as such. Know that you got to question everything that they say. What do Allah says about a fasik, right? When a fasik come to you with news, you verify it, right? You can't take their words at face value. They're fasik. Fasik mean what? An open sinner, right? But they're going to tell you about something. Okay, why are you coming to me about that? What is your hidden agenda? Yes, you informing me something good, but what is it that you trying to convey? What is it what's your end game? So this is that desert rat. Yeah, he goes through one hole, but really, he's making his way to the other hole. He's making his escape. And you think it is just one way in and one way out. But he got escape hatch. He got another hole somewhere, right? We got to be clear of these people because they will mess you up, especially if you put your whole trust in this person in a marriage. You should have trust in them. They should be your supporter. You should feel safe. But how do you feel safe with someone that don't come straight up? How do you come straight? How do you be straight up with them? They're not being straight up with you. For instance, the man go out to go to work, right? He get up in the morning, he get dressed, and then he come back at night. How was work? Oh, it was good. But you didn't know he got laid off. But he been going out of work every day. He got dressed, had his breakfast, you gave him his coffee, and he didn't tell you that he got laid off. And it might not have been his fault. But instead of him coming truthful to you, having that mutual consultation, the like what you need to do, he act like he going to work every day. So you sitting here wondering why the man's not getting paid.
It's because y'all women. It's y'all fault. Cause y'all got them sharp tongues. You're gonna chop them down. You're gonna be like, where's that thing? You're gonna be like this. Hold on. Wait. Y'all women gonna be like this right here.
No.
There's some women I've seen actually said that. Like, he loses his job, whatever, I'm out. Everything could be good. You get fired one time, yeah, all right, I'm head out.
May Allah protect us from such behavior and be more understanding and show mercy. We got to show mercy. None of us is perfect, right? But you got to know who you're dealing with and what type of person you are. That person has to deal with. We have to recognize that. And if we honest with ourselves and want to better our situation and ourselves, we're going to work at it. And we're going to treat it the way it should be treated. And treat people the way they should be treated. And then shouldn't be surprised that people treat us the way they treat us because of the type of characteristic that we exude. So, mashallah. Did anyone have any comments? Let me see here. Sister Halima said, we really need to always check our intention and most importantly, our relationship with Allah. Then all other relationships will be healthy, inshallah. Yes. Your coming together should be based on La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That should be your go-to, your mantra. You know how everybody say they got a mantra, something that they say? That should be what checks y'all. Like if we can't get that straight and we cool on that, nothing else is going to be cool. When a man expect, obedience from his wife, is he being obedient to his Lord? Because there is no obedience to creation when there's disobedience to the Creator. Sometimes the man is not doing what he's supposed to do, and it pertains to his Lord. Sometimes the woman is not doing what she's supposed to do pertaining to her Lord. That's why the kids are not listening to you. That's why your house is in disarray. We got to recognize these things and always go back to them. Mashallah. But that's all I have to say. You got any closing remarks, Habibi?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, we're gonna be out. We're gonna head out, but we want to thank everyone for their input. I hope that this helped us look in the mirror and reflect what type of person you are. And if you don't see any of these characteristics, still find it. But there's something in you that ain't right. Nobody perfect. And you just ask Allah to reveal it to you and rectify it. Cleanse your heart. Because that's what be our problem. We think it's not me. And it be something that be holding us back from being able to benefit fully from this beautiful deen. It's bland. It's like, I don't want to do this. It's boring. I want to do something else. No, it's all in there. Now, you remember that commercial? It's all in there. What commercial was that in New York?
I don't know, one of them, Ragu or something like that.
Yeah, Ragu commercial. Yep. So it's all in there. So I ask Allah to forgive us, have mercy upon us. I ask Allah to strengthen our families and ask Allah to guide our families, protect our families and ourselves in this life and in the next. And may Allah, make our deeds, a benefit for us, even though it may not be the determining factor of our ending, but may it be good where it helps us, or someone du'as are answered on our behalf, or someone may dua for us. So may all this be a benefit to us because we need it. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone, and Juma Mubarak.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.